Hello everyone, and welcome to our video presentation on a garbage can model of organizational choice, a paper written by Cohen, March, and Olsen. This presentation is designed by Vivian, TingNan, Rebecca, and myself, Kendra. The garbage can model describes decision-making within an organized anarchy. So I'll start off by introducing you to the characteristics of an organized anarchy. These organizations are usually complex and operate under ambiguous problem definitions and goals. The first characteristic of an organized anarchy is problematic preferences. Often, the organization does not act based on what it prefers. Rather, it learns its preferences from the actions that it carries out. Therefore, its preferences can be fairly ill-defined. Secondly, there is unclear technology. Technology here refers to organizational processes and methods. In an organized anarchy, the members operate by trial and error and are unclear on the organization's processes and decision-making guidelines. The final property is fluid participation. Because the organization's participants vary in the amount of time and effort that they commit to different domains, decision-making boundaries are often unclear. So now that we understand what an organized anarchy is, we'll refer you to a paper written by Michael Lipson called The Garbage Can Model of UN Peacekeeping. This paper describes how the garbage can model can be used to explain the transformation of the importance of peacekeeping, which was once not considered an appropriate solution to resolving conflicts between states. Yet today, maintaining international peace and security has become one of the key goals of the UN. Lipson first considers the UN as an organized anarchy because the UN has a set of problematic preferences. Member states have their individual preferences, and a collective UN preference is influenced by the various individual preferences. Lipson also claims that there is unclear technology, as he observed that there appears to be a lack of familiarity with the UN's procedures within the senior leadership during peacekeeping missions. Finally, the frequent personnel changes in the teams of the member states, as well as the Secretary Generals, could lead to a situation of fluid participation. Now that we've established that the UN can be considered an organized anarchy, Vivian will dive more deeply into the garbage can model, which is tailored specifically for such organized anarchies.
Thank you, Kendra. Now, in the second part, I will elaborate the garbage can model in more details. Its name stems from the similar image. One can view the choice opportunity as a jasmine in which various problems and solutions are dumped into by participants. The garbage can model illustrates chaos in the decision-making process of an organized anarchy. In this process, steps do not follow any order. Decisions are made as a result of interaction between four variables: problems, solutions, participants, and choice opportunities. The first three streams are separate, and once the fourth stream, choice opportunity, are initiated, all of them will meet within the garbage can. These four streams flow in and out of the garbage can, and solution appears as outcomes after the interpretation of several independent streams. The garbage can model reflects two varieties of organizational segmentation. The first one is decision structure, in which choices will be mapped onto decision makers. The second one is a set structure, where problems will be mapped with choices. Both can either be segmented, hierarchical, or specialized. In the garbage can model, decisions are made in three different ways, which can also be known as decision style. The first style is resolution, in which some choices resolve problems after some period working on them. The second style is oversight, which means decisions are made when the problem have yet to reach them. In this case, problems are still being attached to other choices. The third style is flight, with several choices are unsuccessfully attached to a problem for a while, until a more feasible choice arises and decisions come up. There are several indicators to analyze the effect of a garbage can model. This slide describes those four indicators, including problem activity, problem latency, decision maker activity, decision difficulty, and the primary method to compute them.
Now that we have understood the details of the garbage can model, we will now look at some of its real-life applications. A relevant case study for the modern applications of the GCM will be the United Nations, which corresponds to the concept of organized anarchy mentioned earlier in our introduction. An interesting paper in 2017 had analyzed the changing nature of peacekeeping from traditional truce observation to nation building as a decision which exemplified the GCM decision making, as opposed to normative rational choice theory. In his paper, Lipson adopted Kingdom's modified GCM model, which has three streams: problem, policy, and politics, instead of the usual four. When considering the case of UN peacekeeping, the key concept under the problem stream was the changing international conditions following the end of the Cold War, especially the increase in intrastate conflict. Simultaneously, the policy stream, which corresponds to the solution stream under traditional GCM, was the ability of the peacekeeping function to evolve and cater to emerging needs. Lastly, the politics stream was developing in parallel, where the conditions post-Cold War placed emphasis on liberal democracy and market economics in the wake of USSR collapse. Additionally, concepts of policy window and policy entrepreneurs were introduced. Overlapping with the problem and politics stream, the policy window was the unique post-Cold War conditions and other developments. Policy entrepreneurs were expanded to include a variety of stakeholders which influence peacekeeping operations, from peacekeepers and local communities to the Gorbachev regime and US policymakers. Overall, this combination of factors was concluded to have culminated in the shift of peacekeeping objectives. Fundamentally, this reflects the contingency in the GCM process whereby decisions were not a rigid or systematic process dictated by organizational structure. However, it is also imperative to consider if this is a viable model of organizational structure to study.
Thank you, TingNan. I'd like to share some pros and cons in garbage can model. In the 1950s and 1960s, rational decision-making model occupied the dominant position in the decision-making theory of public policy. However, scholars have a lot of criticism on the individual preference, exogenous, and individual complete rationality of these models. Among them, Simon's bounded rationality model and Lindblom's incrementalism model are the most representative. Interestingly, the starting point and direction of the garbage can model are similar to those two models. One of the advantages of the garbage can model is that it addresses variables, problem solutions, and participants into a single model. This is in comparison with other models in this field which focus on variables in individual but disparate concepts. Another advantage of the garbage can model is that it introduces dynamism, recognizing uncertainty instead of rationality model, which do not factor in this element. In addition, another theoretical contribution of the garbage can model is observability of the concept. Although the garbage can model discusses the decision-making problem in unclear state, each concept has a clear observable implication. However, the garbage can model is not without criticism. The first disadvantage is that when the model was first simulated in 1972, it had used a fixed number of variables in computer simulation model. However, in the real world, because there are many variables and parameters interacting in a complicated way, the garbage can model may not fully capture the situation. Secondly, reality may deviate from the theoretical garbage can model. The four streams may overlap more than expected. This was also exemplified by Lindblom on the UN, where he combined the four streams into three. Among four variables in the garbage can model, the influence of authority on organizational structure is also ignored. In reality, however, the participants, especially the important ones, may be more influential, which affects the decision-making process and the way energy is distributed. Garbage can model has received both praise and criticism in its characterization of policy decision-making after 1970s. Prominently, it brings a contrasting nature of organizational theory in comparison with traditional rationality models. Future scholarly development and refinement of this model will definitely be something to look forward to, alongside its application to real-world case studies. Our group has come to the end of our presentation. Thank you.